Is it recording now?
One must not get one's knickers in a twist.
I'm trying.
These are the stories your granny never told.
Clint Eastwood loved my apple pie. I was raising a cow and 50 sheep and 2 chickens.
I slipped upon some spilled onions on the road and crashed my motorbike.
Hey everybody, it's Nikki. I'm your host for Stories Your Granny Never Told. It's a monthly podcast where I talk to people from the wiser generation about the unexpected stories from their youth. In this July episode, I have once again a remote episode. By the way, happy Bastille Day to the French listeners. Hey, July 14th. Right, this month, again, I had to postpone the Black Lives Matter episode because surprisingly, interviewing old people and getting them to use the internet comes with technical difficulties. Who would have thought? But it's okay because I have a very, very cool guest on this month. Her name is GretaPontarelli. She is 9 times world champion of pole sports. Yes, that is basically pole dancing as an athletic sport. She's ripped. She's incredibly positive, and she gives lots of tips and tricks about pole that I never knew about. And she's incredibly inspiring because she's still competing at 70 years old. So we can start by you introducing yourself and your name and your age, if that's okay.
My name is GretaPontarelli, and I will be 70 in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am. Because I believe that if I can keep going, hopefully I can in some way inspire people to go after their dreams.
That's a really positive statement to start out with already.
Just take a listen.
So if you want to talk about a little bit where you grew up and how you got to where you are now, because you are the 9 times world champion in pole sport in the world.
Yes.
Pretty impressive.
Well, I started out in gymnastics when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 21 years old, I wanted to go back in the gym and train. And they said, "You're too old." I thought, 21? I'm too old.
Yeah.
So I couldn't train. So I did dance for a number of years and martial arts. And then about 25 years ago, I got involved with an online business, creating my own online business. And so I spent way too much time sitting at a computer. And both of my sisters who were younger were tested for osteopenia, and both came out positive because it runs in my family. My mother had it so.
So osteoporosis?
Well, osteopenia is the beginning of osteoporosis.
Okay.
So they said to me, "You better be tested." I said, "There's no reason to be tested. I'm sure that I have it. All I can do is try to mitigate it. I'm not taking drugs." And I looked up on the internet, how to offset osteoporosis.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most important things you can do is to have weight-bearing exercises to load the bones.
Okay.
And it was either lift weights or lift your body. And so I said, well, let's see what my options are. And I went to YouTube and I saw these artists on pole doing what to me looked like gymnastics on the pole. And they were so eloquent and beautiful. I thought, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So cool. So how did you start out?
Well, I got a coupon in the mail, one of those Groupons, but with free class. And I thought, okay, this will be fun.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a joke between us. I told my husband I was a tennis widow because he was always running out to play tennis. And it turns out where he plays, the club is right across from where the pole studio was. So I thought, oh, this is great. So I'm going to be heading in the same direction and waving at him and saying, "Hi, I'm over here."
Yeah, perfect.
The first time that I was in the class, I think she thought that I would never be back. It wasn't easy for me. I could not get up the pole.
It's really hard. I mean, I've never tried it, but I can just imagine lifting your own body weight is not easy.
It's like anything is hard at first, Silly.
Yeah.
Riding a bicycle is hard at first.
Absolutely.
I would say a lot of it's technique too. Like a lot of the reasons I couldn't climb is I didn't use grip. I didn't know where to go to you have to get a certain amount of skin on the pole.
Yeah, because I assume if not, you just slide down, right? Like a fireman.
You do. It's really hard to pull with pants on. I think I had capris on that I rolled up, and so a lot of the fabric was touching the pole. So, and it's made it very, very difficult. So I started going back. I thought, oh, this will be a sideline. This will be fun. I'll do it once in a while. And I went back a few times, and then all of a sudden, I had these little victories, and I go, oh, I can do this. And it kind of motivated me to keep going.
So like you could achieve better positions or better grip and things like that?
Oh, yes. I started learning moves. I learned to invert going upside down, which none of that was easy for me. I really had to work. I got a lot of bruises, and there's no reason to get a bruise doing that move, because when you invert, if you use leverage, the body weight, you just kind of fall back and your legs go up. It's really very basic.
It's just all technique.
I did a gymnastic thing, whip myself around, and so my ribs would hit the pole. Yeah, so it just kept going. I started really getting serious about it and training 5 days a week.
Wow.
And worked with a really good teacher. I guess they started putting out some videos on me. I did a couple little performances, and the videos got out. And the next thing, I get a call from America Ninja Warriors and said, would you like to be on the show?
Right.
And I thought, I never saw this show. What is this? So anyhow, I didn't even look it up. In a way, it's good I probably didn't, because it would have really intimidated me. But they said, send us a video. So I sent them a video, and they called me up and said, can you be at Venice Beach this Saturday? And I was on American Ninja Warriors actually twice. But that first time, when it aired on television, they said, oldest person to ever attempt the course. And it was me.
How old were you at the time?
I was 60, probably 62 maybe.
Okay.
And I thought, where is everybody else? And then I knew that I had to compete to give visibility to my message, because I can always have fun in the little pole studio and do my own performances. But until you get into this, to this world stage, it doesn't start blowing up. So I thought, okay, I have to do this. And
how was that race? Was it really hard, or?
It was hard.
I know about the show, but I haven't watched your specific episode.
I got partway through the first time, but I have to say, see, a lot of it is technique, and a lot of it's skill. For somebody my age to make it through as a female, it's almost impossible, because unless if you trained your whole life as a rock climber, and you can hang on by the edge of your fingers, and you have the explosive, fast twitch muscle like Simone Biles has.
Yeah, they seem to be doing really well, the rock climbers.
They've gotten it down to a science. A lot of them have, they train for it, even though they change it around a lot. These people still practice going up the warp wall. They still practice the salmon ladder and certain things. And there's also stunt people in there, and they do extremely well. But I got partway through it, and I was just glad that I didn't fall on the steps.
And not hurt yourself or anything.
It was exciting.
Yeah. You get to be on TV. It's cool.
It was very inspiring to be around so many people going after their dream. When I got there, I wasn't intimidated by the course at all, because I was tuning into all their energy, and I was just thrilled to have the opportunity to be on it.
Yeah, I bet everyone was super hyped.
Yes, and it was just an amazing group mind of people who are going after their dreams and goals, and be around that energy. It just kind of propels you.
Yeah, I bet. And it's interesting that they came and sought after you and asked you to come on the show.
Well, they did. You've got to remember, back when I was 62, I don't think they really had CrossFit. Or if they did, it hadn't blown up. They did not have a lot of women that were applying. They really didn't. And so they needed women. And they didn't have enough women who they thought could possibly do it. I don't know why they thought I could. I mean, I was really out of my league. But I was pretty strong, but there's just a lot of technique on some of those, on some of the apparatus that I really didn't have.
Still, the fact that you got there is so great.
So after that, they asked me to send in for a master's division in London. So I sent it in, and I got in, and then I thought, okay, when I saw the criteria, I said, I can't do everything that I'm supposed to do. I mean, one thing was what's called an iron flag, and that means the pole is
Oh, yeah.
perpendicular to the ground, and my body is straight out with anything touching except my hands.
Your body's the flag.
Straight out, and you have to hold it 2 seconds.
Oh, that's crazy.
And a deadlift up, and I said, oh, I'm not qualified because, I think you're going to do well. I think you should come. So I remember getting on that airplane thinking, I must be out of my mind. And when I won, I mean, it was surreal.
You won?
Yes.
So you went there thinking that you would never make it and you didn't even qualify and you won the whole thing?
I won. I was really fortunate.
And I assume you're again the oldest person in the room, like competing at that, and you kicked all their butts.
Oh yeah. I'm by far the oldest. I'm the oldest world champion in pole and
the oldest Ninja Warrior competitor.
Yeah, I probably have to go back again. I think there's some other people that are a little bit older now that say, oh, well, I could do this. And so which is a good thing,
That actually brings me to one of my questions about pole sport. So the whole world of pole sport, I guess not a lot of people know very much into it. I'm assuming the first thing people think is like, it's pole dancing. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yes. In the world of pole, there is something really for everybody. There is, of course, the more exotic ends that most people know about. There's some that do just Russian exotic, and in no way is it close to stripping, but it's a very sensuous kind of fluid movement. There's some people that do that.
Okay.
But where it's really taken off is pole sport, pole art, and pole fitness. And pole sport is very acrobatic. It's based on how many moves you can do back to back in a certain amount of time. And the more advanced the move, the more points you get. It is artistic, but not to the degree that pole art. Pole art is about telling a story. And that is really where my focus has been the last few years, because I love telling stories that connect to somebody's inner muse of transformation, taking negatives in our lives and turning them into positives. So, for example, one of mine was a phoenix rising out of the ashes. Another one was a chrysalis becoming a butterfly.
Oh, perfect metaphors.
Oh, it just touches my heart very deeply to be able to work on a piece and find those muses within and share them with people and helpfully awaken the same muse within them. And so that's where I am. And then, of course, there's pole fitness, where a lot of people do it just to stay in shape. You can use bands around the pole. There's all kinds of things you can do for a level of people that don't want to do a lot of tricks, but they want to stay in shape, because it is a great way to work on your core and your whole body.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen pole. I don't know which one it is, if it's art or fitness or whatever, but like Cirque du Soleil and acrobatic places like that, they have some kind of pole acrobatics in their routines.
They do, and it's a combination. They're kind of a combination of art and sport, because Cirque always wants it to come across in a artistic way. They're very artistic. It's never about trick. It's about tricks with a story. Yeah, some of my friends are in there and have been in there, and they all are amazing athletes.
Oh, I'm sure.
They just know how to bring a story to life. And to a couple of them, the pole is not about just a trick. They try to make a trick look like they're not going to do a trick. In other words, they don't want to telegraph. They want to just be maybe casually leaning on the pole, and the next thing they lift their legs and they're into a move, rather than, when I did gymnastics, you could always tell when somebody went to the corner of the mat when they were ready to do that double tap, right?
Just to look like completely natural, basically.
Yeah, you see that, but they are all about creating different shapes and forms and using that in a way that they can leave their hearts on the stage.
Oh, that's nice. Are there any men in your experience that do pole sport?
There are a lot, and there's a lot of them in Cirque.
Yeah, I have one friend who's in the circus who does pole, so I wanted to ask about that.
Oh, and there's so many amazing ones. I mean,
great.
I tell you, most of the men that I know that do it, they're just so strong and they're very acrobatic.
Right? Makes it easier when they have a lot more upper body strength.
Oh, they are. They're just so naturally strong.
Naturally. And do people say anything about like ageism in the sport, I wonder?
I think that people were surprised I'm doing that at this age, but I don't feel like anybody thought it was, in other words, I was never discriminated against because of my age.
Okay.
Yes, it's harder at my age to do it, of course. And the Masters division, depending on the championship, some of them it starts at 40. You know, so some of these women I compete with, I got into one that's going to be in South Africa, and it's 40 years old. So they're like 30 years older. It's going to be next year. I'll be 70. Some of them will probably be 40. So that's a huge difference. And then there's also sometimes a grandmaster that is 50 years old. You know, what happens at my age, I think that you lose cartilage. And I've had both of my hips replaced because of competing on cement floors and gymnastics. And it finally hit me a few years ago. So it's difficult. You lose flexibility in your shoulders.
Absolutely.
But one thing I've learned at my age, because you've had so much life experience, you can always tell a compelling story and give more of your heart and your soul because you've been through so much. And so in a way, it allows you to go a little deeper and to do something that has some meaning, something that's authentic.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's what I strive to be. There's so many young artists that just do amazing tricks. And some of them I think, well, my body will never do that. But I can always do what I do in a way that I touch the heart of the audience deeply.
Yeah, you compensate with your story.
Well, I aspire to. Every time I watch myself, I think, oh, I could do so much more. I could give so much more. Well,
like a true athlete.
It's particularly on video because when I'm live, I feel this electricity running through my veins. I mean, I feel the audience. I feel the pulse of them. I feel like I'm
adrenaline.
And then when I watch a video, it's two-dimensional, and it's not the same. And when I watch the video, it doesn't translate as well as it does to a live performance for me.
I've actually heard a lot of people mentioning that nowadays we can do Zoom and things like that, but it's just not the same because you don't get the interaction from the public and they don't give you that energy to put on a good performance.
Yes, you really do. You do connect because when I'm out there, I want to bare my soul on the stage. Okay? I want to totally bare my soul. And when I do it in a studio, I could try to simulate that, but it's really not the same. It's kind of like the difference between going to watch fireworks and watching them on your television. Right?
That's a really good, that seems about right. Like, I mean, it's really not that exciting on the TV.
You can still see the whole thing, but the energy of being there with watching them, and no, it's not the same. But that being said, I still love watching the videos, and not that they still aren't wonderful, but when it's live, it just transports you to another world.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, all the things that you can do. I mean, you can tell like you need a lot of strength and technique to do all of these positions. I watched a few of the videos. They're awesome. You have a YouTube channel, right?
I do, and I need to add more to it. It's under my name. It's GretaPontarelli. Now, Ariel's Zen is over on Instagram.
Okay, good. The listeners can definitely go and watch those while they listen to this and get a visual of your amazing performance.
I tell people, any questions, please feel free to message me, email me. I'm always glad to help people on their journey, even if it's just a journey of getting inspired to do something. It might be something else. I tell you, it touches my heart when I hear people say, I run 5 miles a day because
that's awesome. Because they want to like get in shape.
So somehow I was a catalyst.
Yeah,
yes. I mean, pole might not be their thing, but running was their thing. Mm-hmm. That really touches me very deeply.
It's so great that you found this sport all of a sudden, and then it became this entire life passion. Like it's quite lucky that Groupon landed in your mailbox, basically.
I tell you, I am so grateful, Nikki, because I love art, And I love training and working out. And I love doing something to get you in shape that is fun. And when I am training on the pole, I feel like a kid playing on the playground. They're not playing to get in shape. They're doing it because it's fun. And if it's not fun, people tend not to do it. So
Yeah.
I just feel so blessed. And then with my hips the way they are, I can walk fast and I could jog, but I could never really run. I can't really tumble in the way that I used to because of my hips.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do some acrobatics, but not like I used to. And my shoulders, I don't think I could work on even parallel bars if they'd let me back into the gym. So it became a perfect sport for me, also because of the ability to share a story that is meaningful. And I'm very much into that whole mythology. That's really, it really fuels my life.
So did this in the end help with the what did you call it? The beginning of osteoporosis?
Yes. Now this was interesting. So when I went in to have my hips replaced, I had one done first. And the doctor made me use a walker for 6 weeks because he said, your bone is like styrofoam. Ooh. So we have to take this easy. And I went back and I thought, oh no. The reason was the leg, I had a lot of trouble with my left leg for about 4 years. And I did everything that I could holistically, and it gave me time. And I'm grateful for it because I was still competing and winning world championships with it. And I probably couldn't do it.
Damn.
Finally, my right leg went, so I had no choice. The reason was the bone wasn't loading. I was favoring my right leg. Every time I'd take off on my right leg, and I'd switch the legs in air and land on my right leg. So my left leg was just there. So after I had my right leg done, and I started like really training again, he checked the bone density. He says, you have the opposite of osteoporosis.
Wow.
Your bone is solid. Yes, so it really did help me immensely.
Actually, would you say that pole dancing or pole sport is better for older people because you don't have these like strong impacts that you would have with some other sports?
I do.
Like impacts on your joints, I mean.
Yes, I think you have to find out what will work for you. Everybody's body is different. I've lost a lot of back flexibility, but I still can do a split. I can do those kind of moves.
I can't even do a split.
Well, you're young. You could if you've worked on it because it's a matter of.
I could train. Yeah, I could. My sport is rock climbing, so I don't really need to do too many splits for that.
So you're a candidate for Ninja Warriors, let me tell you.
Yeah, maybe.
People that do that amaze me. As a matter of fact, there's a part of me, before I started pole, I became fascinated with people that climb mountains. And I always watched when they had the summits for Everest and K2 and all of them. And there was a part of me that really wanted to be there in that mountain with them. In my heart, I thought, gee, what a fabulous thing to take a message to the top of the world. But I don't think that I think that I could take the oxygen, the low oxygen. I don't think I could take the cold.
Yeah.
So what happened is, climbing to the top of that pole, the pole became my Everest.
That's going to be the title.
Yes. So it was, for me, yes, it was a lot safer than trying to summit. But I'm still fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by being in that environment and what they go through and the fortitude they have to keep going and the training. So I hand it to you.
I really like it. I mean, I'm more of a wall climber. I'm not interested in Everest again because the cold is just not my jam. What I really like about it is the puzzle aspect because you have to figure out how to get to the top and not fall down. And it's a little bit of adrenaline, a little bit of solving the puzzle once you make it to the top. That's like the best part. But back to your career. Do you work out every day to keep in shape?
I try to work out hard every other day. And then the second day I do mostly stretching and let my muscles rest. I don't work out a lot. I work out, except when I'm competing, maybe then I'm spending a lot of time videotaping choreography and going over that, thinking, how can I bring this part to life better? I don't need to work out long periods of time. It's just when I'm there, I need to be there 100% and pour my heart and soul into it. And you just naturally stay in shape because the pole, everything you do on the pole does require you to engage a lot of muscles. So it doesn't take a lot of time.
So when you're doing your big workout day, you're just doing different poses on the pole and like for a few hours or?
It depends. Maybe I would say Recently with COVID, about an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I was doing a little bit more, but now I'm so much involved in other projects like landscaping,
Yeah, house improvement.
moving rocks.
Moving rocks is good workout.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So I'm doing a lot of very physical things. So I don't train quite as hard. And we don't have any world championships. I had one in
Right.
Switzerland in November that I qualified for. Well, I don't know if it's going forward. And
Yeah.
so I want to keep training, but I kind of wanted to have a reprise, so to speak. And sometimes it's good to take a break from running routines and just
Yeah.
try to reinvent yourself, because you tend to do things a lot in the same way. And so I wanted to come back and bring something fresh and new. And
You take a step back from it and come back with new inspiration from doing other things. That always helps a lot. Yeah, I find the same.
yeah,
How many competitions have you been to, or how many have you won, if you can count even?
well, 9 world championships that I've won. I've been in,
Damn.
how many have I been in? 1, 2, I think 12 world championships. I have 2 seconds, a third, and all the rest are first place.
All right.
And I had some little championships that were like, I won like the US championship a few times. I don't always generally compete in this. Everything I do pretty much is international.
Oh, so you don't have to like go through regional and then US and then international?
For IPSF.
Which is the International Pole Sports Foundation?
Right, you got it.
Nice.
I got seeded a lot of times, before you win, and you don't have to resubmit again. When I first started out, there were some smaller ones that I won. I won in the pole.
How long did it take for you to go from starting pole to winning your first world championship?
2 years, 2.5 years, maybe.
That's relatively fast for sports, like for knowing nothing at all about the sport and then just winning. It's just, you found your thing. You must have this either a huge passion or a natural aptitude or a combination of both. And like you said, the storytelling part probably, do you think that's what's given you the edge?
I think it does. I think that a lot of it is the fact that I am equally an athlete and an artist. That really helps too, because both parts I think are pretty equal in me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I have spent so much time reading Joseph Campbell and philosophy that really enriched my life in so many ways, because they taught me about the way to connect with people deeply in the arts is you have to find those archetypes, and you have to bring those archetypes to life. And I think every book that I've ever read on screenplays, Joseph Campbell is footnoted all through it, because he was a consultant on Star Wars. And he talks about the collective unconsciousness and the things that really touch the hearts of many, many people. And
Smart.
so it really gave me a foundation to see things from a different lens.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle.
You've probably seen his quotes around. I mean, he's amazing. Like, he will say things like, this is wonderful. When you follow your bliss, you find doorways where you once saw walls.
Oh, wow.
And I believe that's something that is really important to me, because I mean, I would have seen a wall before I started pole. I think, oh gee,
Yeah.
I'm not really talented.
Anyone would.
I'm older, my body can't do things. But then I found the doorway. And so I really try to apply that philosophy. I think the philosophy part of it is really paramount for my life. It's finding your passion in life and sharing it with the world is what it's about.
Yeah. Yeah. And it obviously, makes you really positive when you found this passion. And I mean, you can only just be happy because and you're obviously having a great time. I'm curious, when did pole sport start to really become a thing? Do you know?
Maybe just before I started competing. I would say maybe about 10 years ago. And then IPSF and IPC were doing world championships back then. And then IPSF started getting very, very directive towards going and getting in the Olympics. And they got approved by Sport Accord. They're included in the World Games. And so they had to have criteria in order to be in the Olympics. You have to have, I think it's 58 championships throughout the world. You have to have all kinds of criteria. The judges have to go through training every year. They have to be certified.
Wow.
So it became more than just going to a championship and having lay judges. Everything became top shelf at that point.
So they probably have a chance of getting into the Olympics in the next 10 or 20 years?
They are working hard. I believe there's ping pong going to go first, and then is it salsa or tango's going this year?
Oh, ping pong's in.
Yeah, so ping pong's in. What about, is it tango?
Oh, maybe.
The tango or salsa. There's a lot of them that already are lined up. We're not in the lineup yet, but we believe that we're going to be right after that.
I found here that the IPSF was formed in 2009.
And it's really taken off with the young girls. There's so many amazing young girls. When I went to my first world championship, there was a girl named Olga Trifonova who was 9 years old.
Wow.
Russian. And she just like blew everybody away. And I thought her videos are going to hit the internet, and this is it. It's going to hit. And so what happened is now there's all kinds of young girls doing it because it's mostly girls that found it safer than gymnastics because you're holding on to something.
Yeah, gymnastics can really mess you up if you fall wrong. So
yeah, imagine like doing some of those aerial moves on a balance beam. You can hit your back. Nothing's 100% safe, but relatively you're holding on to something. So you always feel much safer.
yeah.
There are even teams in Ivy League schools.
Really?
Yes. They asked me to teach some workshops at Oxford University. So I taught mastering the deadlift and amazing people there. And it turns out that they compete. They have a competing team.
Awesome.
Yes, they were telling me that some of the Ivy Leagues in the United States have competing teams. So it was fascinating to me that it's really gone to that level. So I thought, gee, that would have been really nice when I was younger, because when I did gymnastics in college, there weren't any scholarships for females. That was male.
Oh, well, really?
Yeah. I mean, as a woman, we did not have the opportunity then.
Oh, and you look at today and like women's gymnastics is like actually more, I'd say not recognized, but people love watching it compared to the male's gymnastics. So
it's gotten very exciting, and
things have changed.
Particularly with using the spring floor. It's giving them the ability to do things they could never do before.
Yeah, I saw some video comparison of like the original,
oh my gosh,
very early Olympics compared to today. And they have like 6 or 7 extra flips in there today. And I'm like, what? How does that even change that much?
It does. For one thing, the uneven parallel bars were about, when I competed, I would say they were probably 22 inches apart, the bars. I mean, you couldn't do giants in them. And if you look back at the early Olympics, like in the late 50s, they were like doing a scale on there where you'd hold on and lift one leg up, and a V seat, you sit on the ground.
Yeah. And that's it. And they're like, ta-da! And now today they do like 50 flips and fly through the air.
I mean, those girls that are level 6 back then would have won the Olympics. It has changed.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you, what are the names of some of your favorite postures, and if there are some fun names as well?
I do like the passe flag, which is that first move I told you about, that you're perpendicular to the pole, your legs out, but bending one leg. I really like that. I like deadlifts. Fun names. Most of them are named after the artist that first did it.
Oh.
There is one fun name, but I don't do it. It's called a spatchcock because we don't call it so much here, but over in the girl that did it, Felix Kane, the first time, was extremely flexible, and it looked like opening up a spatchcock, a chicken, when they open it. She said that's what it looks like. And it's called the spatchcock. Basically, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like part of your body is on one side of the pole and part is on the other. So it's like doing an oversplits,
I could kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not one that I do, because I think at my age, I don't think my hips would like it. I feel like they might pop out. One move I love to do is I hold on to the pole and lift myself up, and it's like I'm running in the air.
Oh, I've seen that. That's so cool. And you need such a control of your muscles to stay straight and do that. It blows my mind.
It is hard, and you have to get your body in the right position to kind of get locked in, to kind of stay up there. But I like it because I can do it in a way like where I'm moving towards something, like a goal, like I'm moving.
Mm-hmm.
When I was the very last one that I did, I was a tree and in a forest fire, and
What a cool
I get
story.
shows that I got burned and I'm in ashes, covered with ashes, and I come back to life as a sprout. But the part that I'm on running and I've got these ashes over me, it's like, okay, I'm trying to come back to life, but I can't. And then, so I'm on there, but I'm going in circles. It's like going in circles instead of spiraling. So what happens is I come down and I recognize that I still am holding on to the ashes, which translated to our everyday lives. It's like letting go of things that we need to let go of in our life.
And then you have this bigger story, which is like the wildfires and things like that.
Yes, I let go of the ashes. I put the ashes down, then suddenly that move starts spiraling up the pole. I take that move up the pole. That's probably one of my favorites.
That sounds like a really beautiful routine. Like I can imagine it in my head already.
Yes.
I actually thought of a question while we were talking about the Olympics and things like this. I imagine there are critics of the sport, and you sound like such a positive person. What do you say to people who say like, oh, it's not a real sport, or, I assume there's a lot of negative things that people will maybe say about it.
Well, I haven't really had too much of it.
Good.
Although intermittently I might see a post or something. And if I was communicating with that person, I would tell them to go try it.
Yeah.
If they don't think it's a sport, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard, and I would say it is as much a sport as gymnastics is a sport. I think there's different sports for different people.
Absolutely.
People that get drawn into that are people like myself that want the flexibility that it gives you to be able to do things that are unique and really different. And the beauty about it for me is older people can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, at 21, they didn't want me doing gymnastics. And here I am in my 70th year, actually, still able to compete on the world stage and still win and do well.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm humbled by the fact that there's something that I can do that is really, really fun and artistic. So I think that if I had a conversation, I would just tell them, let's go try it. You tell me.
That's a really positive way.
Because usually when they try it, they think it's going to be easy. And then when they try it, I think there's a video out, and they said something like they took a CrossFit person and had them do pole. Can a CrossFit person keep up? And actually, CrossFit people are pretty they're in shape, okay?
Yeah, but for certain things.
They're pretty athletic. And they could do probably some things, but there's still a technique that they haven't developed.
And I totally get this, because whenever I see bodybuilders come into the climbing hall and they try to climb and use all their strength and they can't get it, and then little old me, I just like climb up and say hi.
Go right past, right?
Because it's technique.
Yes. So there is definitely technique. There is timing. There's also using momentum, right, and leverage. Like when you want to go somewhere, sometimes I can.
Physics.
I don't try to muscle things up all the time. I try to, when I can, I use momentum.
Yeah.
Some deadlift moves, they require that I don't use momentum to get the maximum points, so then I do those without it. But I mean, if I'm just doing an artistic routine, I don't get as tired if I could at least have a little bit of a flow going into it.
And I'd assume it's a pretty accessible sport. I mean, you either go to a specific gym, or if you get really serious about it, you can get your own pole. How much do poles go for? Like, you get one on Amazon? Like, I don't know.
You can't, but I highly recommend that if people want a pole, tell them to message me, please, because there are so many different kind of poles. The cheap ones, you don't want the cheap ones. You can go to Amazon and you will find, or not Amazon, but YouTube, you will find videos of poles that fell over. Because there are cheap poles that are made to walk around in your high heels and do a couple little things at the bottom. But if you want to get serious and climb it, they're not made for tricks.
Right.
And it depends, they could cost on the low end, maybe for a good one, maybe $300 and some and up. And there's also the platform stages, where there's a stage. I've got 2 competition poles at my house on a floor. And that works fabulous. I can run my whole routine there. And then I have a platform one that is sticky. So when it's cold and or if I want to take it somewhere, this is portable. Those are probably more like 800 or 900, but it all depends what you want. You
Still
can get
cheaper than horse riding.
or ice skating, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's still okay.
It's really not that much.
And it's a good like indoor workout for things like right now where people are stuck at home. I mean, there you go.
It is, because you can take the pole and you can just pull up on it. You can take the pole and hold on to it and you can stretch. You can take bands and you can use bands on it. There's so many different things that you can do with it just for fitness. And then you can do some fun things at whatever level you are. But kind of gets addictive, I would say.
I bet.
Because it really is fun.
Yeah, and you have to keep up your muscles anyway, so you might as well just keep doing it.
Exactly.
So I would ask if there are some people who think that this is interesting and want to get into pole, what tips would you give them? Second question, if there are some like competition tricks that are like little things that, I don't know, like maybe some kind of like wax or something you would put on your arms to stick better. That's the only thing I could think of. Those two questions.
Okay, so as far as you say, getting into it, how they get into it, if you can find a good studio, and check out studios. Studios have different approaches, and you want to find a studio that fits your approach. Some of them are more like aerial yoga studios, and they do it from a different perspective, and some of them are very into the competitive. Some do more, they use the heels, and they're a little bit more on the exotic end, like the Russian exotic, and they want to do things like they do chair routines with it. Find out which one works, but take a class. I think it's really important to have a live teacher until you get to the point where you can do things on Zoom, which I work a lot with different people on Zoom.
Cool.
And as far as the tricks,
sure.
Okay, so I use on my hands. It's called Better Grip. And it's basically chalk, pretty much like in gymnastics.
It's like for climbing.
Yeah.
And gymnastics, it's all the same.
And but on the inside of my knees and my feet, I use something called eye-tack. Eye-tack is mostly beeswax. Okay. And this is the trick with eye-tack for me. Everybody's body is different because your pHs are different, right? So for me, it works great for me to stick on my legs. But if I get it on my hands, it gets slippery. So what I have to do, what my trick is, I choreograph the routine in a way where if I'm climbing, my hands are always ahead of my legs.
Okay.
So in other words, if I invert and my legs are up here, my hands are below, and then I slide down, and then I go back and I grab that pole again behind me, that means I slid, and all that beeswax is going to be on that pole.
I never thought that you'd have to take that into account.
I do. It's just for me personally.
Yeah.
Some things, like I find that it's really important to be warm and to have a tiny bit of a sweat. So there's a move that I do called a Russian split, where one foot's on the pole and the other leg goes out into space, so to speak. And that bottom foot, you don't want it to slip. So I put a little bit of the Better Grip on that, but I also slap it like this so that it gets a little bit red to get it warm, and that makes it stickier. I don't know if you've ever, do you use gloves?
Wow, all these secrets.
And the other thing is, I always practice quite a bit in my costume, whatever my costume is, because if it gets, like if you're using like something with fabric and it gets between your legs, between you and the pole, you could slip, you could slide. I have seen so many people that did not practice enough in their costume, and they got up there and they basically lost points because of the costume. It wasn't them.
Oh no. Has anyone ever like lost their costume on the pole? I could see that happening.
I've seen people get deductions because their boob popped out a little bit. Seriously.
Pulled the Janet Jackson.
They were wearing something that was a little bit briefer than they should have. I have seen that. And of course, if that happens, they get major deductions or disqualified in some championships, because IPSF, you can't wear anything that's cheeky. You'll get a deduction.
Yeah, it's just like if you're ice skating in the Olympics and your boob pops out, you'll get disqualified. So I guess you have to have similar standards.
Yeah, you really have to pay attention to the costume. And I usually have a lot that's going on. I mean, I really had to practice when I was playing with the ashes, doing things with the ashes, because it was a fabric like a chiffon that I kind of turned it into make it look like ashes that would flow. And sometimes when you move it up in the air and it comes down, you don't know where it's going to land.
It like flies into your face and you're blind and
you really have to pay attention to it.
Okay.
And the other thing I would say is I love videotaping myself, even though it's hard for me to watch my championships after I'm done. It's really hard.
But it seems like a great technique to be able to correct yourself with the video.
Well, see, in our sport, a lot of it is lines too. It's not just having an extension, that's part of it, but it's the way you present it to the audience. Like when most people see a split, they want to see it sideways. But if I did it head on, it's not as interesting.
Yeah.
And if I did it with my foot towards the audience and my back foot as far as I can away, it's just not as interesting.
It's not as impressive somehow.
No, so there's a lot of things that the way you present it makes a world of difference. And also sometimes you find yourself looking at the pole when you should be looking at the audience.
Yeah.
And I still work on it. It's a journey. But in gymnastics, they do that all the time. They get to the end of the balance beam and they do the little wave with their arms, right?
Yeah.
What we would try to do is do a turn at the end of that balance beam and not stop and keep going. So if I would kind of parallel it to pole, we don't want to telegraph it. We want something to just come out of nowhere and they go, oh, that was interesting, or that was a surprise.
Yeah. And at a competition, is there just one pole that everyone uses? Does it get like gross? Do you have to wipe it down? Because if everyone's using like beeswax and glitter, I don't know.
Oh.
Is glitter allowed? That's another question.
Yeah, as long as it's not excessive. Yes, they do use glitter.
Like tasteful.
So there's two poles. Generally, they're about 13 and a half feet of height, and then about 8 to 9 feet apart. They clean them with alcohol afterwards. They always do that. They take everything off. It's really, really important, and they sweep the floor. Some of them are really strict about things coming up through costume. I remember my first world championship in the younger women's division. The girl won by a feather. It would have been a tie, but one girl dropped a feather. A feather came off her costume. She got a point deduction.
Wow.
So the other girl won because of that feather.
Literally by a feather.
I mean, not all championships are that strict.
But you have to be at some point.
Yeah. I mean, a rhinestone flying off, it could happen.
Drama.
So I really try to pick costumes that I think are really all together in one piece, and I'm not going to have that.
All right. My favorite question to ask at the end is, what is your advice that you have from all of your years of experience, not necessarily only with pole, but like for life, for the younger generations? I
think the most important thing really is what I said earlier, is to find your passion and to share it with the world. And for me, the passion is, of course, in some way inspiring people to go after their dreams and not let age or any limitation keep them from manifesting that passion. It's a broad spectrum. It's not just me doing pole, it becomes lifestyle. I eat a very organic diet, pretty much paleo. I try to surround myself with positive, inspiring people. And
it's important.
I believe that you just have to go deep inside yourself and find that thing that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, that's so important. That's really good advice.
That's what means my life. I want to wake up and say, yes, another beautiful day. Let's go, right? You have to find that.
Well, I should definitely follow that, because if I'm in your shape when I'm 70, that will be an accomplishment in itself.
Maybe you will. I know you will.
I have to get a pole.
I know you will. I know you will. You have to challenge yourself, and you have to challenge like when I did the Miley Cyrus video.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even get to that. I completely forgot. I'm sorry. You were also on the Younger Now video alongside Gypsy, which is a total coincidence that we found each other that way.
The reason I was on with a couple other people, she wanted inspiring people because she wanted to have an inspired image. So I said, so what would you like me to do? And I'm practicing all these moves. The one move that they asked me to do was the hardest move for me. Not that it was that hard, but this is before I had my hip done. And so I'm sitting there with a friend who's also a great choreographer and coach. And I go, oh my God, can I get my leg
Can I
back
do
there? Because
this?
remember, my hips I had lost cartilage.
Yeah.
And my split was sketchy at that point. It wasn't really a 180 split. It was like a 170. And I had to say, okay, I've got this. I can do this. So that was definitely, that made me have my reach exceed my grasp, because I honestly thought I was going to have problems doing that. And then they asked me, we need you to do the hoop too.
Right.
And that was not a problem to do, but it was something that I had never done before.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really fun working with her, working on that video.
Yeah.
She's a wonderful, wonderful family. I mean, very, very warm, when I met like the rest of her family, it was like, I felt like I already knew them.
That's so great. You'd think that, celebrities would be a little bit more standoffish with everyone, but it seems like she was really cool with all the performers on that video.
They were giving you big hugs. And I remember going over to her dad. I introduced myself. And he goes, I know who you are. And he gives me a hug.
Awesome.
So I thought, what a warm welcome, what a wonderful family. Yeah. We did this, I don't know if you saw it, but we did this little video for Comcast. Did you see that one?
Oh, but I'll look it up.
You can also find it if you scroll down on my Instagram page. They wanted me to teach them some moves on the pole.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so basically her mom did them and Miley tried a few. I'll tell you, a friend of mine gave Britney Spears a private lesson when she was in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I want to do this. It was an Iron X. And she goes, well, this is harder than you think. She goes, let me have you try a flag. And a flag is where you have the pole underneath your arm and you squeeze it and one arm's down below and your legs go out.
Okay.
She struggled with that one. So just to show you, there's somebody who's dancing all day, was in great shape. Yeah. And it was difficult.
But you still need certain weird little muscles that you would never use otherwise to do that stuff. So you just have to develop it.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun doing that. And I just feel blessed to be in a situation where I can live my dream. I've traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
And taught workshops. I love teaching, working as an executive coach, teaching workshops and inspiring people to go after their dreams.
Where's your favorite place that you've been?
Oh, that's so hard. I mean, there's a crown jewel in everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I had such a good time in Australia, and the people there were fabulous. I loved Florence and Port Art, Italy. It was great being in London and being at Oxford. Those people, Montenegro, the classes I taught there were fabulous. And Assisi, I taught something there for a fabulous group of people that, wanted, it was about life empowerment in your older age.
Cool.
And the same thing, that's what Montenegro was about too. It's called The Age of Happiness. I was in this book.
Yeah.
It was a Russian tabletop book, and 60 people over 60 doing amazing things. And I think I was 62 at the time, and I was, in my opinion, I was the least amazing in there, because there were people doing, that's true, there are people at like in their 90s doing, let's say doing a marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, there were just some amazing.
I mean, just goes to show you that, like, if you're just really into it, and you can do whatever you want. I mean, your body, of course, causes limitations, but it's a lot about the state of the mind as well.
There's so much that's mental. I mean, you just have to find what your body will do. Mm-hmm. And on my art form, I can name you plenty of tricks that my body just will not do. They just won't do it. No, it's not a matter of training it to do it. The cartilage is gone, and it won't do it. But the road turns left, you turn left. You say, okay, what can it do? Yeah. You build on your strengths. You find those things. Just like you, I'm sure when you rock climb, you have certain strengths, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm way more flexible than all the guys. So I just stretched on my tippy toes, and then I can reach a part that I'd normally have to muscle my way through.
You can reach things and they can't. So you find those things, and it challenges you to become the very best you can become. Because in life, you learn that we're truly the masters of our destiny.
Dang. Well, I can't say anything better than that from now on. I mean, that's a good place to end. If people want to take a class from you or get in touch with you, what's your website?
Well, the best way to get a hold of me, they can email me. It's my GretaPontarelli@gmail.com.
Oh, you guys. Isn't Greta the best? Don't you all just want to like go on Amazon, get a pole, and become super ripped and a world champion? Because she basically convinced me. I mean, she's pretty cool. Oh, and another thing that she told me after we were done recording is that she has a pet red-eyed tree frog. Was thinking that that is the perfect pet for a pole artist because they're so sticky and they stick to the wall. It was just like a hilarious coincidence. Anyways, if you like that and you want to hear more, episodes launch at the beginning of each month. Oh, and I forgot to say that we have merch now. It's only just stickers and tote bags, but you can find the link on the website and you can order stickers from obviously your most favorite podcast. Follow Stories Your Granny Never Told on social media to get updates. We are at storiesyourgrannynevertold.com on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and at gmail.com. And if you're not technologically minded, you can also leave a voicemail at 332-203-2059. For example, if you want to nominate yourself, if you are over 60 approximately, I don't really discriminate, or if you think your grandma or your grandpa has really cool stories to tell, please just let me know. I'll see you next month for another episode of Stories Your Granny Never Told. Everybody, stay safe.